something like that. Chris Johnson says, Mr. Whittle, although I'm sure it pains you to admit it, it's obvious how much respect, admiration, and friendship you have for Andrew Klavin. It's not obvious to me. The amount of insults you send in his direction is only acceptable among good friends. I do the same thing with my friends, and they insult me back without mercy. Why do you suppose this type of behavior is acceptable between close friends? Also, do you know when or how behavior of friends insulting one another became commonplace? Respectfully submitted, Chris Johnson. Well, Chris, I can't tell you how two people who respect each other trade insults, but I can tell you how I trade insults with Andrew. There is nothing funnier, in my opinion. Look, there's such a thing as a running joke. And a running joke is obviously a joke that's repeated. And for most jokes, you can repeat it, and up to 4 or 5 times, the more you repeat it, the funnier it gets, until finally you're tired of the repetition, because the repetition is where the laugh is. Comes a point when you're tired of the repetition, you know it, you've seen it now, okay, I'm over, I've seen it, it's done, and it's not funny anymore. But a feud can go forever. A feud can just go forever and get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's absolutely great. And I just adore listening to Jack Benny and Fred Allen, who were, mortal enemies for their entire careers as giants of radio. And in fact, they were really good friends. Now, that's Jack Benny and Fred Allen. In that case, you've got two very talented people. In the case of me and Andrew Klavin, we've got one extremely talented person, and then another guy who shaves his head, who's basically been riding on my coattails since he figured out how television works, and who basically looks at my essays and figures out what he's going to say on his show that day, And I don't think that's really quite the same thing. If I had to... If it were opposite day, I would say that that Andrew Klavin has a moral clarity that I've not seen equaled by anybody. He doesn't know jack about anything, but he has a moral clarity about things that astonish me. And if it were opposite day, I would say he's extremely well. He's not just well-educated, he's well-read. And what I mean by that is he doesn't just read books, he understands them. It's the greatest line in the history of cinema, by the way, I think, is in Fish Called Wanda, where Kevin... my mind is going so fast. Oh, forget it. It'll come back to me. Kevin Kline. Kevin Kline is playing the idiot in that movie, and Jamie Lee Curtis is, very annoyed with him, and she calls him an ape, and Kevin Kline says, yes, well, I read philosophy, so do apes read philosophy? And Jamie Lee Curtis says, they read philosophy, Kevin, they just don't understand it. And I just thought that was just beautiful. Many times now I won't ever watch the Andrew Klavin show because I have things to do with my time. But sometimes you'll hear it on being played in rooms, and I'm talking about your lower class establishments, some kind of a flop house or something like that, or where people are, I don't know, you get the idea. Places of ill repute, the kind of places you wouldn't want to be seen. Sometimes they'll have the Klavin show on very loud, and drive past and you hear a little bit of it here and there. And I'm shocked at how many times Andrew Klavin has stolen my ideas before I've had a chance to think of them. I find that reprehensible in a professional. Many times I've listened to him speak and I said, that's exactly what I would think right about now. After hearing you say it, you stole the idea from me before I had it. And if that's not the lowest of the low, then I simply don't know what is. We won't even get into the smell. I just made myself laugh.